Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you all have had a great weekend as we wrap it up and get into the work week. Happy August. It's finally reached August 1st, 8th month of the year, and we're just cruising on through this year. One more month into the best time of the year, in my opinion. The final 3 months of the year is my personal favorite time of the year. You got football, you got cooler weather, and Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas is always the best times of the year for me personally. So one more month of it, and we're getting into September, and obviously football season is definitely a lot of fun for me personally. But one thing I do want to mention, I made the video last night talking about the tropics, and there's been some, I would say, consistency in the long range showing, mid to long range, showing tropical development as an MJO, a favorable phase begins to move into the area. It really looks like we're going to start to have some things in the tropics to talk about, especially in the coming days. I think by week's end, we might have some areas that have a chance to develop according to the National Hurricane Center. That's going to be very interesting to see if we have any highlight or risk areas, 10 to 20% chance of developing in the next 5 days. Right now, I'm going to make this video, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what the models are showing now, the operational runs. We're going to look at some ensembles. And we're also going to look at what factors are kind of in place right now that can promote these tropical waves that we're going to talk about from developing and actually having a future in the long range, well, a future on down the road to possibly affect areas in the Western Atlantic. So before we get going, guys, if you have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. I upload content every single day. Hurricane season is about to pick up. I really think it is. I'll keep you all updated daily, and thank you all for the amazing support. Like the video if you like it, and thank you all for the continued growth. It's much appreciated. You are definitely supporting me and my passion. It's just a joy being able to talk about what I love to an audience. So thank you all for the amazing support. So we'll flip back to this. Let's go on with the video. Right now we got a tropical wave that's beginning to get off North Africa. Probably another one coming off way over here deeper into areas of North Africa. This is going to get over the Atlantic Ocean, and it's going to have a chance, but I don't think it's going to have a very good chance. And this is what we're going to talk about here. What we're going to do is we're going to jump to the GFS. Watch this area right in here as this tropical wave gets off the coast of North Africa, and this is really the area we're going to watch. Notice you'll see a low pressure pop off right here. That is that wave. This is getting into about 2 days from now, about Tuesday morning. Low pressure forms, and it actually drifts north into probably some cooler waters, and it drifts almost northeast. It looks like there's it's being influenced by some trade winds from the monsoon influences there. So it actually is getting pulled a little bit from some winds because of that, in a nutshell. So it actually gets pulled northeast a little bit, and when that happens, it does two things. It basically self-destructs itself and dissipates as it probably digs a little deeper into some drier air, and it gets into some cooler water temps, which there's a little bit more cooler water temps, obviously the further north you go. So this little tropical wave, it kind of dwindles into nothing by midweek. What it does, though, is it almost moistens an avenue for the next wave. So it moistens this area up, even though there's some drier air right in here, and it continues to do so, pops a low pressure there again. And this is getting into Wednesday, and then that little turns into a tropical wave, kind of dwindles away. After that, we get into about late this week, and what happens here is another wave. This looks like a more robust wave comes and kind of pops off in the same area. Now, granted, the first wave kind of moisturized, if you will, this area here, so there's not as much dry air here anymore. It obviously forms in warmer sea surface temperatures in this area too. As the more south these waves form, the more higher chances of them succeeding down the road in their future journeys across the North Atlantic, into the tropical Atlantic, into the Western Atlantic. So check out this robust wave, and it gets going here, and it survives. It pops off a low pressure here as we get into next weekend. It keeps trucking. It keeps surviving, and then it looks like eventually it gets about halfway across the North Atlantic, the tropical Atlantic, and it looks like it kind of fizzles away into maybe a wave. But I do want to mention that we need to watch this. The morning 06Z model run of this same system had this thing continuing. Now, it was just kind of I wouldn't call it a fluke run, but it was one of those, I guess you could call it a fluke run. It was just kind of a run that had a much more aggressive scenario with this second wave, and it had it as a full-fledged, looked like a major hurricane starting to creep into areas of the western Atlantic, into this area by next week. Not this week technically, but next week. And so we have to watch this energy. Here's the energy starting to get into the area. This is way past. This is 10 to 14 days out. But one thing I want to mention, this high pressure right here, it's in a favorable position for the carry whatever forms, whatever can survive into the Caribbean, and then maybe ultimately the U.S. Now I want to show you what would be the operational European run. This is getting going here. Check out the first wave. It gets into the tropical Atlantic here. It kind of drifts north right here, and it falls apart, moisturizes the area. Then another strong wave pops off here. There's actually a little tropical wave that kind of pops off right here, but I don't think that does anything. But this is a much more robust wave. This actually has a chance to probably become maybe a depression, maybe a storm around this time next week. It's cruising across the tropical Atlantic, making its move. And this is what you got your eye on right here. And this is getting into next Tuesday, so we're getting into about 8 to 9 day range out. But it still has an intact storm of some sort, a tropical disturbance. Still intact, 10 days out, but this storm forms well under 10 days out. So the Euro wants to keep this thing going. I think the first wave definitely gives the second wave a boost, and I'll show you what I mean here. First I want to show you this. This is the EPS SpaghettiOs. I love looking at these. It's a really cool thing to look at weathermodels.com. But check it out here. It's quiet through about next week. Then you start, it's going to be really hard to see on your screen, guys, but then you got circles popping up, and this is where it's trying to pinpoint where a low pressure could pop up. And check it out, all these individual members. There are some strong members showing up here as we get into, this would be about 2 weeks out, pretty far out. So we're talking about something that I think we'll be talking about throughout the first half of August. But this is signs that the Atlantic is waking up. These are some big dogs right here. This is very far out. This is 354 hours out. But this is something we need to really pay attention to. You know, you look at this. This is the first wave. A couple members have it surviving this far, but most of them don't. But this is the second wave right here. I know this is a little confusing, but the second wave, I'll kind of put this in motion here. It's going to be kind of sluggish. This is Weather Nerds. This is actually a free site for you guys, but you know, watch this little cluster right here as it moves here, and I'll try to make it go fast. We'll try to sling through this really quick. But check it out here. You know, you have this area right here. Many members are showing this a surviving tropical depression, weak tropical storm, making it across the North Atlantic as we get into the day 9, day 10 range. So we need to watch out for sure for that probability of a depression forming over the next week. This is probably talking about that first system, you know, maybe a 50 to 60% chance of this first wave maybe being a depression, but I don't know if they're even going to really pay much attention to this, the National Hurricane Center. There's no chances of development right now of anything out there. But this is the second wave. Check out the second wave getting going through in time. It pinpoints a decent area. 50 to 60% chance, 40 to 50 to 60% chance of a tropical depression developing. So something we need to pay attention to. One thing that's very interesting to watch is the Saharan dust. You're going through in time. This is Saharan dust. Obviously, the more coloration you see, the more intense the Saharan dust is. Notice as we get into we're getting into tomorrow, getting into Tuesday. You can actually tell where the dust kind of goes away right here due to the tropical moisture off this first tropical wave off Africa, and as it moves north. Watch this. Watch the motion right in here move north. That is probably because of the moisture off that first wave. That shows you right there that it creates kind of a moist pocket for the second wave. I really think the first wave is not going to do anything. But this is another great thing to look at. This is basically showing moist air and dry air. So moving through here, you have that first wave that kind of pops up, throw some moist air right here, and there's a moist pocket of a very moist pocket of tropical air mass right here. This helps to push kind of the dry air on top of this away, and then the second wave kind of follows this little tropical moisture right here and creates almost an avenue of more moist air, allowing or going to the euro for this to keep going. And it's kind of like a system that's sacrificing itself for another system, if you will. It's taking all the dry air and it's allowing for a little bit more of a moist pocket for this. But this is all speaking of this, if this could happen. I do want to mention this, not very long though, because we already know this. There's going to be the Atlantic Ridge up top that's going to allow anything and everything that does form over the next probably 10 to 14 days at least to stay south, to keep that southern route. So you got the ridge of high pressure up here, and anything that's forming down here, like this little low pressure, it's going to keep that route, trying to eyeball the Caribbean islands potentially, or maybe the U.S. down the road, unless it curves up here, which a lot of storms do. So we need to pay attention to this. A great thing to look at is shear, and I honestly don't think there's a ton of shear in this area right into here where things could develop. There's a little bit of shear south ends of these storms. But here comes that one storm right here. It's not dealing with a lot of shear out ahead of it, just a little bit. So I don't think shear is a big problem unless really it's going to face a little bit right into here, just north of, just northeast of the Bahamas and the Caribbean islands. And obviously if it gets into the Caribbean graveyard, it's going to face some shear, but we'll see. We're talking a lot of what ifs right now, but I tell you, I'm going to keep y'all updated on this, and it really looks like the tropics are going to become a bigger weather topic in the weather world over the next several days. So thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all stay safe out there and have a blessed night.